My name is Sean. I'm delighted you're joining us for today's ESPC community webinar. Today I'm joined by George, MVP, who will cover when Power Automate is not enough. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESPC_community and our hashtag is hashtag EPPC26. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which updates the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access them via the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking Content tab at the top. During Power Platform Week, we've got a special opportunity for you to be as part of the community experience. You can get €150 off tickets in EPPC 26 in Copenhagen, Europe's leading Power Platform conference, packed with keynotes, workshops, and networking. This offer is valid until the 18th of February and applies to new ticket purchases only. So don't miss out. Scan the QR code and use code PPWeek to secure your ticket today. As always, if you have any questions at any stage, feel free to type in the chat box and George will get them during the webinar. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it's available. And now I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter. Hello, George. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello. Hi, Sean. Hi, everyone. Let me just sort out my screen because it stopped sharing. So it's not a good start, but let me just... It's not working, so I'll just kill that and I will share my main screen. So just give me 5 seconds to adjust
Perfect.
resolution, otherwise the world's gonna end. Okay. That should be good. Let me move that out of the way. And let me start sharing the screen so I can move freely. That's the screen I want to share. Let me know if you can see it.
Yeah, I'll
This
let you
should
know.
be good. Yes, and I'll
There we go.
start the...
I can see, yeah, notebook. Yeah. And I can see your screen. Yeah.
Yep. Now, let me just start presentation and off we go.
There you go.
Okay.
See your presentation. Yeah. Thanks.
Excellent. So, good morning, I assume, everyone, or good evening. Or if you're coming from US, then that would be a good night. So, today we're going to talk about Power Automate, or rather, the common pitfall when people common pitfall people fall for, and that is they try to use Power Automate for everything. They have one tool, they learned it all, and they use it for everything when they should be using it and when they shouldn't be using it. Thank you very much to ESPC for hosting this webinar. So the experience has been smooth, and I hope you learned a lot from the presenters before me. So it's a great lineup, and it's a pleasure to be here. So anyway, just quickly out of the way, I'm George Dubinsky. I've been business applications MVP since CRM 3.0, so that's a long time ago. And I run CRM Tip of the Day, talk on CRM audio, do some open source projects, and you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn. And I'll share this slide at the end so you can grab QR code. Okay, the agenda is very quickly introduction to automation, Power Automate, what are the pros, what are the cons, and the alternatives. And that's what we mostly going to talk about, alternatives. So let's get on with it. First of all, should you be automating given a task? And I love this XKCD illustration or cartoon that tells you when you should or when you shouldn't be using. It basically calculates how much time you would save if you automate a specific task um, over the next 5 years. So, and use it as a guidance. For example, if you're doing something, you know, 1 minute, and let's say you're doing 1 minute and you're doing it weekly, then you can afford to spend 4 hours automating that task, and that will save you 4 hours over the next 5 years. There's this tiny example, but to give you a real life illustration, let's say I used to spend about 6 hours doing my accounts monthly. And if we take 6 hours and I say we do it monthly, I could afford to spend 2 weeks automating it. I spent less than 2 weeks. I spent a couple of days, and that would save me 2 weeks over the 5 years. It saved me sanity to begin with. So this is something. This is something you need to keep in mind. Like, given a task, is it worth automating it at all? But once you decide that yes, it's worth automating, we're doing it, 30 minutes 5 times a day, we can afford to spend 6 months on it. Let's move to Power Automate. And let's briefly talk about what are the pros and cons of Power Automate. So Power Automate, it's a default choice in Power Platform. That's mostly why everyone is using it. And it's kind of been around for quite some time, and it's evolved. Um, Started very small, but fundamentals are still there. It's been born as Logic Apps child, so to speak, or cousin, but it's since evolved significantly. Uh, it is dataverse and solution aware, so that's another huge advantage. So you sit in kind of next to your dataverse. So if you have solutions, if you have dataverse holding your business data, Power Automate makes total sense. And it's very cost effective, especially with seeded licenses. For example, if you have Dynamics 365 sales, you would get Power Automate with premium connectors, and if you can run those within as long as you run those within the context of the Dynamics 365 app. And it's a bucket. It's kind of, yeah, you pay the money even for Power Automate non-user license, Power Automate process license. You pay for the bucket and you use it as much as you want to within the limits. We're not going to talk about licensing and limits, but this is kind of bucket-based licensing. So you get the bucket, and then if you overflow a little bit, then it doesn't matter. If you overflow by a lot, then you probably need to buy another bucket, and so forth. It has approvals. Nothing else kind of come close to that. So if you're using approvals, then and a lot of people do, then it's kind of baked in. And um, it is a great personal automation tool. There are a lot of how to get you started, and you kind of contain your automations within your own environment, and you keep it to yourself, and you can connect to your Outlook, you can connect to your OneDrive, and so forth. And then it's kind of lots of examples out there that helps you do that. Cons, expressions can be clunky. They're not even JavaScript expressions. I don't remember what they are, but the syntax is convoluted, and People learn it, people struggle with it. The expressions are mind-boggling sometimes. Um, it is difficult to learn and clunky. AI here to help. If you can ask AI to write expressions, there are plenty of information out there, so AI knows how to do stuff. Um, Power Automate is quite unforgiving, so it's really difficult to roll back, to go back to um, if you make mistake, if you architecture your Power Automate flow incorrectly, it's kind of difficult to fix. So it's not flexible in that regard. It's not drag and drop all your steps, rearrange things like that. You really have to copy paste and make sure everything works, and so forth. It's getting better, like particularly with history, you can roll back, and there are third-party tools to help you manage, but it is kind of not very forgiving. It doesn't really scale. When I say it doesn't scale, if you're not paying attention and you just write as it is, it will not. It will not scale if you hit in lots of records. And by lots, I mean on a scale, like for example, we're talking about 500,000 contacts or something like this, right? So it will run out of time. It will time out. There are some workarounds, but they're clunky. Uh, so it really it will run forever on certain tasks. So you're not in control of it. This is what you get when you're paying for the bucket. And as I mentioned, timeouts. And for complex decisions, particularly like table-driven decisions, complex logic, it's not really good. Once you start getting into multiple loops, it's really difficult to visualize and to understand what's going on. Anyway, but it's a great tool. So, but to understand when not to use it, you have to know it inside out. So if you're using Power Automate, just make sure that you understand it. Make sure that you read documentation, and there is a great source available to you. It's Power Automate guidance documentation. Um, it's on learn.microsoft.com, Power Automate /guidance, and it's got a lot. It's got code samples. It's got what to do, what not to do, how to do concurrency, how to handle concurrency, how to handle expressions, how to name things, and so on. These are best practices. I think it was created by PowerCats team. So it's a great resource. Uh, we had presentation about 3 or 4 years ago, like best practices. It's all been superseded. I ditched the presentation because this one is superset of that. This is best practices. Make sure you know it. Anyway, so what are the alternatives? Well, once you get beyond Power Automate and kind of start hitting some issues, then what are the alternatives? So manual, it's like copy paste, Excel, classic workflows. You'd be surprised what you can do with them. Logic apps, Azure Functions. I bundle it with custom connectors because typically custom connectors allow you to venture into Azure Functions. Um, Azure Data Factory, data flows, third-party tools. Did we miss anything? Perhaps some of you may experimented with OpenClaw. So I'd say don't, but this is subject for another conversation. Anyway, we thought when Steve Price and myself, we first kind of envisaged this presentation some time ago, we created a car analogy for what to use and when. So Power Automate, it's your kind of reliable family sedan or perhaps SUV that you can get around. You can do shopping, you can do short and long trips, you can go camping, but you really can't do heavy duty workloads. It's familiar, does a lot of things, does them well, doesn't cost you arm and a leg, not very costly to maintain. But what if you need something else? For example, workflows, business rules, plugins, both low code and code plugins. They are kind of specialized vehicles. They do one task and they do it particularly well. Like, for example, smart car, whatever the car it is, I think it's a smart car. Um, Easy to park, easy to get in city, but you wouldn't go camping in this car. On the other hand, plugins, it's like Aerial Atom. It's highly specialized, super duper fast, um, extremely well engineered, but you really need to know how to take care of it. You really need to know how to drive it. Otherwise, you just crash and burn. And then we have logic apps. So for logic apps, it's kind of your reliable ute. It's kind of similar how Volkswagen uses the same base for all the cars, and I think it's like foundation, whether it's Audi or Volkswagen, it's all the same, and it's come from the Ute. Um, the same way as Lamborghini was born from tractors. The Logic Apps is kind of your reliable working Ute. It's a if you need to be, it can go off-road, it can, you know, carry the load like up to 1 ton and so forth. So it's good, it's reliable, it's a known quantity. It's kind of it's a working person car. And then we have Azure Functions, and I couldn't find better analogy than drones. They fast, they get to the point super duper fast, and they scale. So you can have like a draw array of drones, and they will deliver stuff everywhere. And as you know, industrial drones, like particularly used in farming, for firefighting, so applications are everywhere. Azure Data Factory data flows. It's something like container ship. You need to ship a lots of data, all the different sources, toys, tractors, whatever, and you ship it long distances. This is what you have. And then we have manual tools, whatever you fancy. You can do Uber Eats delivery, you can use skateboard, you can use electric unicycle, whatever you fancy. Then we have things like third-party tools, Kinvasoft and N8N, and so forth. This is kind of highly specialized off-road vehicles. You really need to know what you're doing, but you can go places no other cars can go to. And then we have OpenClaw. And for OpenClaw, yeah, how about we are not going there? Okay, so let's start with logic apps. Quickly compare Power Automate and Logic Apps, because Power Automate was born, as I said, as a cousin of Logic Apps, but it started moving, and it's moving towards kind of in its own space, towards Copilot Studio. Latest, you've seen the change in URLs, the trigger URLs. That's kind of was clear indication that they move in infrastructure as well. So now it runs on a separate infrastructure from Logic Apps. It's still in Azure, I believe, but it's a separate infrastructure. Better scales for specific tasks that Power Automate is designed to do. So let's talk about differences. So licensing. Licensing is in Power Automate, it's per user or per flow. In Logic Apps, it's consumption. So it's a bucket versus tap. ALM with Power Automate, it's Power Platform. With Logic Apps, it's whatever you fancy. It's a biceps, arms, whatever you have in Azure. Power Automate has very tight M365 and Dataverse integration that Logic Apps doesn't have. Logic Apps can use connectors, but they're not quite the same. For example, you wouldn't get a trigger like when item is selected in Logic Apps. Power Automate has approvals. Basic monitoring diagnostics, again, it's getting better, but it's still basic compared to Logic Apps. And it is a default choice for Power Platform. Logic Apps can be stateless or stateful. Stateless are super duper fast. It's kind of in and out. That's kind of latest development and super fast execution. Stateful, much better timeouts because you control what kind of VM you run. Um, you're running. It can do inline code. It has app and size, and it's Azure integration default choice. So
Someone
let's
added you can have ALM with Azure pipelines as a cheaper alternative.
pardon ALM
Yeah, someone said you can also have ALM with Azure pipelines as a cheaper alternative.
cheap alternative to what? Um,
Maybe they can add. I think it was Leo that said it.
yeah, I'm not sure. To Azure pipelines, yes, as cheap alternatives to what? To yeah,
To
you
the
can.
to the Power Platform pipelines.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, the choice is everyone. Yeah, it's sure. Let's kind of take a look at a small demo. So the stuff I wanted to show you, a simple task. So I have, just to simplify it, I have um, context. And I just, again, not to muck around with anything, I've got the JSON array of, I don't know, 2000 contacts, I think, um, that has, let me maximize that. This array has first, last name, and age, and it's got array. The challenge is very simple to calculate average and median age. Um, And before you jump in and start looping, if you loop in with variables, then it becomes a quite a challenge, quite a challenge in Power Automate to calculate anything like that. So let's see what we can do. So I use Compose just to get the context. So they are here. Um, and then I added inline action execute JavaScript code, and it's currently returning null. So let me just drop in at ChatGPT, and let's just vibe code stuff. I have an array in Power Automate in Logic apps that looks like this, and let's give it example of this array. Where was it? Here. Oh, that should be sufficient. Let's make it syntax correct. I need JavaScript inline code action to calculate median and average age. Let's go. I mean, I do have on the side that's something I prepared early, but here you go. Oh, that's different from what it did before. Let's go copy. Let's go here, execute JavaScript. Doink. I'm not even gonna check. Besides that, this is where we need to drop compose. Come on. Why you want this, but you don't want compose? Let me just take a look what it should be. I'm sure I have, yeah, the reference. Why are you so
People are
stubborn?
just saying click the output.
Yeah, I did. I did. No, I didn't. I click on action. Thank you very much. Clicking on the wrong thing. But yeah, it's been a long day. I'm sorry. It's very late night. Yeah. But anyway, I'm not even gonna check the rest. So I'm just gonna save it and run. So let's go ahead and open run. So it calculated all in 1.65 seconds for 2000 contacts, and it calculated average and median. I don't know if the numbers are correct, but let's assume they are. You can verify it independently. But as you can see, it's kind of super easy just to drop stuff and try things out. What I like about Logic Apps, the editor is much more responsive. It's super fast, and the experience is just basically very, very pleasant. So if I go, for example, and start creating new workflow, I have a choice of stateless. That's super fast. It runs fast. It doesn't store. You can enable history, but by default, it doesn't even have history. It's kind of in and out. It's kind of Logic Apps alternative to custom-made functions. It's got it stateful. That's what I used. It's kind of runs inside VM. It's got, I wouldn't say unlimited timeouts, but you can certainly configure timeouts, and they're much larger than in Power Automate. And it's got autonomous and conversational agents. They're basically stateful workflows specifically designed to work with agents. So anyway, there's lots and lots to learn, and editor should feel familiar after Power Automate, but it's super responsive and super easy to manage. So I like it. The only thing to keep in mind is that it charges per action. So whilst in Power Automate, you may just create by throwing in actions. Here you need to be a little bit more careful when looping. For example, if you can avoid lots of actions in a loop, let's say you put 10 actions in a loop and you loop over 100,000 contacts, you end up with 1 million actions executed. So just keep that in mind, and it would be easier to for something like JSON manipulations, XML, and stuff like this. You just throw in a little bit of code, and it's much easier that way. So there's lots of users, lots of advantages, some disadvantages. So definitely, if you close to Azure world, that's the stuff to use. Anyway, let's continue. So the next one is Azure Functions. And as I said, they're a little bit like drones. So you can have lots of them. They scale well. They're fast. They're scalable. There's a concept of durable functions with orchestration. So it's really, really easy. Does require some coding skills, but these days they can be kind of vibe coded. I throw in strictly speaking, not vibe coded, but you can certainly use AI to help get you started, and then you verify, you look through, and you see what's going on. It's a good partner to both Power Automate and Logic Apps, because you can call them through, you can call them directly, or you can build custom connectors if you want some more kind of manageable infrastructure. Anyway, a little bit a little bit of a story. So we have a UK customer, got general practitioners, medical records. It's a public database with over 500,000 records. Like our last count was like 570K or something like this. It comes as 200 megabyte CSV file. Now they have a requirement to get this and make it kind of searchable via the website. Long story, but we decided that Azure Tables is kind of suitable for these kind of records.
George, there's two questions in, if that's right.
Yep, go ahead.
The first one is, what are your thoughts on using Copilot slash ChatGPT when writing code? Some schools of thought believe it's best to learn your coding language first before utilizing script writing functions. Example, when flow ownership is handed to another owner, there should be a clear path or breakdown of logic. It's another reason why
Hold on.
Power Automate is not good in complex scenarios. Further to my point, makers are inexperienced coders and may not be able to explain logic if they rely on copilots to write it.
Okay. Let's go ChatGPT in one article. Some schools still believe it's best to learn a coding language first, but um, okay. Let's hold this till the end. It's kind of interesting. It's more of a philosophical debate. For me personally, it's not a big deal because I learned to develop way before AI and Copilot, so and other tools. So for me, it's very helpful when it generates code. I can look at it, I can assess, I can tell pretty much straight away is it complete rubbish or if it's on the right track. And there will be bugs that I can kind of assess. And again, I'm not vibe coding; I'm vibe engineering. So it is useful, but let's hold it till the end. I want to connect CRM to Business Central for some functionality. The communication should be both way. I'm thinking Power Automate is the correct tool as we have built-in connector. Do you think some other tools will be better or Power Automate is the correct tool? Well, it really depends what you want to do with Business Central. Are you synchronizing? Synchronization is it's a bit of a tricky business. How much data you have? So um, off the top of my head, yeah, people do that. People connect Business Central using Power Automate to Dataverse with Power Automate, and it works just fine. But it really depends on the scale. Um, for example, if you ask like FNO, then I would say, yeah, dual write is probably a better choice, but depends how you want to move data. Is it one way? Is it two ways? Is there a specific window when you want to move data? Like, for example, oh, I've got like 1 hour daily and to move the data, and that's it, which is quite the case, often the case. Like, for example, I'll continue with on my example, and you'll see. Um, so that would make your same experience code that may not be able to explain logic if they were like a pilot. Yeah, that's exactly what vibe coding is, right? So you see the code, you have no idea what it does, and you keep your fingers crossed. So yeah, it's I guess you feed it into another AI and you ask it to double check. That would be the answer. Um, Perhaps questions could be covered to the end. Yeah, okay. Let's go on. Let's continue. So where was I? Was I here? Yeah. So we had over, and we had limited window. Like we had 2 hours to accomplish the task. So we tried to do it with Power Automate. We gave up because it was running like for 6 hours and with no end in sight. So we built Azure Functions. Believe it or not, Azure Functions. It was a set of like three functions. One was specifically split this ridiculous 550,000 lines into smaller files, like 10,000 lines each, just to be better digestible. That's one. It's super easy, like 3 lines of code, 5 lines of code, okay, and it just saves the files. Then what it does, it takes a second function, kicks in, triggered by those files, parses line by line, and puts records in the queue. Um, Parses the line, puts it on the queue as a single record. I think it was kind of 5 lines of code and 20 lines of describing what each column is. And then queue to Azure table, it's a one-liner. Seriously, trigger on Azure on queue and say write whatever you receive on the queue into Azure table. Done. The whole thing was running in like 20, 30 minutes. And what you see is exactly what you see with drones. It's like it scales. It scales functions. You would see you drop the file in, it would split, and then would scale something like around 300 instances of these little functions. Each one kind of processes one line at a time, but it's not your concern. It just scales tremendously well. So if you can partition your work, it's kind of that way. It's really great. But I want to show you a slightly different use of Azure Function. For those of you who come from CRM, Dynamic CRM, You remember those reports. So when you go into accounts and you select the account and then you run report and account summary. I wanted to run a contact, so I want to open the contact. I didn't want to open the contact, but let's say I open the contact and run report, and there would be some reports in here. And now, any minute now. No, it doesn't want to. Run selected records as a context report. So if we go into report and we get this report, you can get IDL file for that report. And lots of systems, they build those reports and people convert them to different, here's your contact report. And you can go and why is it going into report viewer? That's not, I didn't want to go into report viewer. I wanted to edit the report. It will take a while to load, but basically you can extract IDL file. And it's very specific. Oh, no, it didn't. So it was built with Report Wizard. That's interesting. So you can actually download report. And it will download, I already downloaded this report. Let me just open it up. Something like this. So you will see the reports and you'll see the somewhere there should be a query CRM. Oh yeah. So we've got fields, so on, DS main. It's a fetch report, and there should be fetch somewhere. Here you go. And this is encoded fetch, and you can extract it, and it's got report filter and so on. So I already pre-extracted it. It's fine. So what you can do with that, it's a couple things. So one, you can convert it to a report builder, and report builder in Power BI, you can actually run it on lowest license, the premium add-on license, which is not that expensive. The only limitation, you can run this report every 5 minutes. So I've got a customer who said, yeah, fine. They needed something like report for top their 50 customers. Say it's 250 minutes, so it's going to run like for 4.5 hours. I said, fine, let's run it overnight. So the overnight, they run this report like in a queue. Wait 5 minutes, run report. Wait another 5 minutes, run report. So it works quite well. So you take IDL. But what if you need kind of quick generation and you really don't want to convert? You really don't want to spend $5,000 a month on Power BI licenses to run this report. So what I did is create let me just open, let me just file, open folder, and I'll open this. So created, yeah, okay, I'll save that. Created an Azure function, again, mostly kind of vibe code that started. There was a good start to that. There are some samples going around. So created a renderer function. This is kind of not heavy duty code, but yeah, what it does is a function PDF renderer. It takes it takes payload, takes IDL file, takes the data. This is the most important bit. You have to prepare the data in a certain way. So it needs to be a data set, and then you can run this report. So let me just demonstrate you in action. So if I go into, there was a project somewhere. No. Okay, I'll go to make.power automate. Okay, I'll do it without the project. This is render report. So what it does, it grabs the context, and this is fetch XML. I literally dropped it as is, decoded, and dropped it as is. It extracts context and parent account, something else. It's a fetch XML, so I didn't even look at it. And then I basically call this report report service. Right. It will take the form like that. So render RDL slash whatever, Azure websites. And then you pass a data source as is from that fetch XML. You pass a DL template that we will upload, and render ID is just a GUID, and that's it. The rest is kind of fine. And we're gonna test that. We're going manually, and it will prompt for IDL file. So I'll grab the IDL file. I don't remember which one is better. They're about the same. So, and I run the flow. It started. And what it does after that, it just creates PDF file on OneDrive. So let's see how fast it is. So it just kicks in Azure Functions. Boom, 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 done. Couple seconds, report done. It took longer to create file. And here we go. This is a new file just created, as you can see. And you go and can't preview file. What? Okay. Here we go. So doesn't have account names, but this is report created with report wizard. It's kind of full demo, includes like creating report wizard report and stepping through. But trust me, this is report out of the box. And we have customers who had tons of reports created in previous versions of CRM. They didn't want to migrate them to Power Automate or anything like that. So that's where we ended up creating this service. So I might even publish if you guys ping me if you need this code, but I might just publish it as open source. There's nothing there. Azure Data Factory, I just want to talk about it. We don't have too much time. We actually, we have little time left. So I just want to show a couple other things. We're just going to talk about Azure Data Factory. It's cloud service for ETL, ELT pipelines. It's got huge connector library designed for orchestration and scheduling and handling complex logic. It's got visual transforms based on Spark. Why is it Sparks? Spark. It's got built-in heavy-duty monitoring, retrying, and so on. When do you want to use it? When you, for example, migrating tons of data from on-premise to cloud, when you creating data transformations, ETL workflows, when you integrate data from different sources for analytics. And I wanted to talk to you about a specific use case. So we've got SaaS customer, and they have, this customer has SaaS business, and they've got hundreds of customers, each one similar to like CRM. They've got each have their own database, and they needed some reporting across those databases. And each customer has users with names, emails, and at some point they grew enough to say, hey, look, they started overlapping. So customers of their customers needed to log into different systems, the same way as you guys can log in into different instances, Dataverse instances. So, so business case was implement discovery service and single sign-on. but we needed to answer how many users actually log in into multiple instances, and how many instances are there. So we needed to go across like hundreds of different SQL databases, extract the data, deduplicate the data, calculate aggregates, and so on. There was more to this reporting, but this is in a nutshell what we had to do. This is something that you cannot do with Power Automate even if you wanted to, because the data sources are dynamic. So literally you iterate and you have a list of databases, you've got connection strings for each one, and or you use managed identity, but you really need to iterate through those databases, dynamically connect, dynamically. There was slightly different schemas, handling schema differences. So very complex logic, but the point was that different hundreds of different data sources, and you want to consolidate this data, transform, and do whatever you must with it. Um, the common question is, what's it like? When would I want to use Data Factory, which is kind of Azure Beasts, versus data flows? So Power Platform, Power BI data flows, and Data Factory, Azure Data Factory is kind of enterprisey thing of built on the ashes of Beanstalk. It's kind of phoenix that keeps rising. It's probably some code from Beanstalk still there. Um, so most important, it's a long list. I don't want to spend too much time. Again, ALM is Azure on one side. Data flows kind of can be solution away in Power Platform. I don't want to go there, but typical owner and typical audience is Data Factories targeted at integration engineers, data scientists, and so forth, whilst data flows are mostly for analysts, app makers, and so forth. And again, licensing is bucket in data flows versus consumption in data factories. So if you go in large scale with complex logic where it needs to be robust with retries, monitoring, go data factory. If you need kind of merge couple data sources, push them to lake, or to fabric, go with data flows. Again, manual tools. This is something I want to quickly show you. So manual tools, XRM Toolbox. Yeah. And Power Platform Toolbox. Yay. Finally, on Mac, we can start doing stuff with Power Platform Toolbox. So it's cross-platform little brother. Browser extensions like Level Up and beyond, Excel, code. Um, I wanted to briefly talk document generation. I already showed you document generation. I'd rather show you some things. So there are some options to do document generation, also part of the automation kind of suite. You can use Word templates, online connectors, and so forth. Steve Price created a really nice diagram, so I'm just reusing it here. Uh, it can go from, from all the way from Word templates where low effort but low sophistication either. Here's USSRS, and then third-party connectors. This is stuff like Expedia and similar. Lots of stuff, uh, lots of good stuff. Paid, but hey, it does the job. Uh, Third-party solutions with document generation, paginated Power BI, IDL and code. This is um, what been shown, and build your own. This is kind of, I'd say it's a no-go territory for me personally, but hey, look, I've seen customers who do that. So different options, you already seen, some of them. But I wanted to throw in a manual challenge for manual work. You have something like 200,000 contacts imported, and someone messed up and swapped the first and the last name in CSV file and imported that, and you ended up with 200,000 contacts, and you cannot delete and re-import. You need quick fix before client wakes up. So your actions. Well, here you go. So my tool of choice for ad hoc stuff. And remember, I used to be a developer. Let's put it this way. So writing code for me comes naturally, and especially these days with AI. Um, and I love notebooks, polyglot notebooks. So this is polyglot notebook. And what I have here, you literally can do stuff like um, okay, and just run it. Go away. And it says hello Europe. Oh well, big deal, right? So we can nuke that one. Here's the code. Most of this code was generated by AI. I just verify, fix some references, and be done with it. So this code uses connection string, so it uses app, so app ID and secret, connected to database. Let's see if it can connect. It already installed the package. Let's see if it connected to database. It's got user. Yeah, all the information, all good. So we are connected to Dataverse. And then I want to see contacts created in the last, because it's a demo data, it's like it was last 30 days, but I changed it to years. But you may want to put like I think yesterday is the operator. So if you created yesterday, it would be the operator. So yeah, okay, yes, okay, and I'll take the 10 contacts. So I'm not yeah, it returns me objects. I don't even want to see what's inside. um I've got 413 contacts here. It's fine. And the last but not least, so what I want to do is just to swap them around. And what it does, this is the key code. It extracts first and last name, swaps them around. And for performance reason, I ask AI to kind of create this loop. It does it in batch of 100 at a time until it kind of runs out of the context. And let's see how does it go. And processed in batch 1 of 5. It's not gonna super duper fast. So let's see one batch going through 12. So I think from memory, yeah, okay. So it does kind of a few contacts, 10 contacts a second or something like this. Can be improved, but that's the bottom line. Is like I can do that, but is it the best way? And yeah, it will swap around the first and last name. And people forget the mighty power of stuff. So let me just show you my favorite tool for ad hoc stuff. So let me edit columns. Let me add columns. Name, first name, last name. I was email, right? Let's remove that. Let's remove company name, not interested. Remove that. Apply. And let's assume you applied filters that basically filter it down to the records that you mistakenly created. Here it's like 413, but could be thousands. And then what I do, I say, no, sorry, export to Excel, open an Excel online. Come on, first name, last name. How about last name, first name? Save. Done. It started up. It uploaded. Yeah, we can track progress. I'm not interested. But that's it. I just swapped first and last name, and it just re-importing those records back and updating them. So know your tool belt. That's the bottom line. Is that once you know your tool belt, some stuff becomes not so scary. Um, we kind of almost out of time. I wanted to show you classic workflow has its place because classic workflow is the only tool we have for reliable synchronous updates without writing plugin code. If you want to do something synchronously and visually, like update, modify records, trigger it on specific columns, um, and you don't want to write plugin, or you cannot write plugin, it's not your business to write plugin. Classic workflow, it's still in business, still one of my favorite tools. For example, um, building some when you have composite records and you need to build a name, instead of creating flow that would build you a name like insurance policy, for example, an insurance policy name would have um, policy number, client name, and a date or something like this. um, don't You can build it with business rules, you can build it with classic workflows. Classic In fact, business rules, if they're table scope, they will create workflow for you as well. So that's the way to do it synchronously without doing anything fancy. You can go low code plugins, but they're so flaky, I wouldn't recommend them at the moment. Just plainly don't recommend. They're still flaky. Okay, specialized tools, ETL tools, third party, Kingsway Soft. Oh boy, Daniel and the team, they do magic. If you want to connect, and SQL Server is um, your kind of playing ground, and you can run SSIS packages, and Kingsway Soft is magic. Scribe, is Scribe still around? I'm not even sure. There's Enterprise. It's kind of open up your wallet. UiPath, Workato, the huge enterprise tools for automation. Other automation platforms, like similar to Power Automate, Zapier is the most popular. NA10, open source, became kind of de facto AI orchestrator. So lots of samples around. This is definitely something you should look into if you're looking beyond Power Automate and looking kind of keep your hands on, and you can run it yourself because it's open source. You can host it yourself. Then there are things like decision-based tools and rules engines where decision is table-driven. It's very specialized use cases, like used, in finances and insurance. It does require specific rules. Uh, if your Power Automate has like 27 if then else conditions, it's basically a good chance that this is a rules engine can help you. Then there are specialized automations like approvals, like marketing. For example, customer insight journeys. It's a special beast that does specific job, does it well. Third-party tools like Mailchimp. Did I miss anything? Let me know in comments. So the references will be available. I assume with the download. This is how you connect, and we have about 5 minutes, so let's open up the questions.
Yeah. So there's just another question there. Azure Data Factory equals new version of SSIS question mark?
It is, it's yeah, it is SSIS. It's kind of, yeah, it is SSIS. It's SSIS tool on steroids, so to speak. Um, it's not. Uh, it's not. It's not SQL Server bound, so it doesn't need to be. SQL Server. Let me just hold on. Uh, Kingsway Soft would be like SSAS tool, SSAS tools, but it's not Data Factory. It's not. It doesn't work on. It doesn't require SQL Server. It doesn't sit on SQL Server. It has nothing to do with SQL Server. It can use SQL Server as a source, but or destination, but it's not. It's kind of bigger brother of SSAL tools, because with SSAS, transforms are good, but orchestration is not as rich and powerful as it is with Data Factory. So it's a scale of things basically we're talking about. Let me see. Any other or the advantage to do things? Yes, before client wake ups. SQL for CDS. Oh yeah, from employees. Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, SQL for CDS. It's obviously trivialized example, but yeah, you're right. I forgot to mention SQL for CDS. Yeah, true. Um,
Perfect.
um,
Looks like that'll solve the questions, I believe.
put them. Hey, Christian, we can do it. Perhaps. Yeah. So yeah. Uh, Back to kind of the first question about vibe coding. What can I do? Interesting times. Uh, yes, you need to understand before you throw stuff into AI. You need to understand what you're doing. You need to be able to verify whether it's you who verifies the output or someone else or another agent. But yeah, output verification is important because I generated, even for a little script like the one I showed you, I generated the script before the webinar and then I regenerated it right now. And I can tell you the scripts are different. So AI just, it's randomizing things. So it regenerates and it's different. So if you ask it to do the same task over and over again, it will regenerate different code, most likely. So, but it's a great help, especially if you have some understanding of programming languages. Foundation helps, so you should be able to read what's written and kind of follow the logic. Then it's definitely super helpful. And then things like throwing a bit of JavaScript and logic apps or creating, Azure function becomes a very simple exercise. Not simple, straightforward. I like to use word straightforward exercise. So anyway,
Good.
so hopefully you learned something new, and hopefully it's useful and it opened some eyes
Perfect.
and
Um,
explained some alternatives to Power Automate,
Perfect.
which
So
is a
that.
great tool, by the way. So don't get me wrong. Um,
Yeah. So on
okay, thank
behalf
you
of the
very much.
ESPC community webinar, we'd like to extend a big thank you to you again, George, for taking the time out today, Carriage webinar. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So that's
Thanks
the
for
end of
having me.
today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/research center. Thanks again and for all of you joining us today. I'll be joining us again soon. Take care.